I am so excited that we've been able to invite the INFRA team here for today's webinar. If you're watching this on YouTube, just make sure to follow and subscribe us so you get updates like this. And the reason that I'm so excited to have INFRA here is I've known this team for a long time. INFRA is just one of the most important players in the natural channel. They hold such a special place as just one of the biggest co-op communities out there where you can reach so many great stores. There are incredible stores that are part of the INFRA network. One of the newer members, Earth Fair, who we all know and love, and just so many great stores, and it's just an incredible way to reach a lot of them. And they also can really help you with the KHE distributor network that a lot of us are grow within and try to rack up a lot of great door counts, support healthy DCs, open up new DCs. And the team is just awesome. And so I am so grateful to them for coming today and just bringing so many all-star members of their team. So mainly I'm just going to pass it over to them, but if you're in the chat here today, please continue to say who you are. And if you have specific questions, I'll be kind of monitoring that, probably leaving a lot of the questions for the end. So I would say submit your questions through the Q&A function mainly, but also feel free to just throw stuff in through the chat. The INFRA team is probably going to answer some of the questions typed through the Q&A, and then I'll try to raise some of the ones that I think really apply to everybody, and then also save some for the end. So INFRA team, all right, over to you guys.
Sure, I'll kind of kick things off with just kind of reiterating a little bit of what you said, Daniel. We just wanted to welcome everyone for being here. That's awesome. I'm seeing a lot of you guys in the chat, some of you who I've talked to before, so it's cool to see some of you here, like Deep Indian Kitchen. Love your guys' stuff. It's amazing. So yeah, we're really excited to have you guys all here for really talking about winning with INFRA. And for those of you who haven't heard of INFRA, we're going to tell you a little bit more, but INFRA stands for something. It's Independent Natural Food Retailers Association. It's a mouthful. That's why we go by INFRA. But yeah, whether you're just starting out or looking to, elevate your brand and grow within the independent network, you're in the right place. So independent retailers really are the bedrock of the natural foods industry, and understanding how to work with them and our association is crucial to getting your products both on the shelf, driving growth, but I think even most importantly, gaining credibility within the industry is really huge, because we are that grassroots organization. We're the mom and pop shops all throughout the country. So yeah, we're going to dive a little bit more into that, but I want to start off with some introductions. So my name is Chris Sorensen. I am the promotions program manager. So what I do at INFRA is I oversee the development and optimization of our purchasing programs. And I do that to support INFRA member retailers while also delivering value to y'all, the vendor partners. And my focus is on creating strategies that drive sales growth and enhance the customer experience and provide merchandising support. I also work very closely with our internal teams, member stores, and vendor partners to ensure that promotions are effective, they align with INFRA's overall goals, and provide tangible benefits to independent retailers. I'm going to kick it on over to Nick.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Auzenne. I have the privilege and honor of leading the purchasing team. I've been with INFRA here just 7.5 years. I'm part of the leadership team that puts together all the fun strategy and, for lack of a better term, herd the cats in essence, because we are a cooperative of independent entrepreneurial-minded folks. And I think I'm speaking to about 200 or 300 right now. You all know how you roll. So it can be a challenge, but it's something that I enjoy getting up and doing every day. And from there, I will let Andy introduce himself.
Thank you, Nick. So I'm Andy Huth. I'm the Director of Condiments here at INFRA. I specialize on ketchups and mustards. Just kidding, just kidding. I'm the purchasing manager, and so the category managers all work with me, and we work with the brands to put together our promotional programs. And that's what I do, and I will now kick it to Lauren Bartel.
Hi, I'm Lauren Bartel. I'm the wellness category manager, and I cover the supplements, body care, general merchandise brands at INFRA, which are very fun and exciting categories. As Kim likes to talk about hers. They're my favorite, and it looks like there are a whole bunch of folks here at this meeting that are in those areas. So feel free to reach out to me after the meeting. I've got over 15 years experience in the natural foods, retail, and category management realm. My focus has always been on natural health and wellness and supporting innovative brands, looking for sustainable brands, and occasionally I'll do some retail consulting with INFRA as well.
And then Kim Rout is having some tech issues, but she is the category manager of snacks and beverages. And so she does, like Lauren said, manage some of the most fun and exciting categories. It's candy, chocolate, snacks, and shelf-stable beverages. And she has over 30 years of experience in grocery, spanning both conventional and natural in merchandising and operations. And so her focus is really supporting brands that align with Infra's core values and mission. And she's really passionate about working with innovative brands, and she does an amazing job at it. And, whether you're just starting out or well-established, her goal is simple, is to help everyone succeed. So hopefully Kim's able to get through those tech issues and pop on. And just quick, I wanted to dive through a couple of things here that we have on the agenda. Really, our plan today is take you behind the scenes of Infra's purchasing programs to give you a roadmap for success. So we will cover some strategic insights on how to position your brand within this unique space, from understanding what makes independent retailers so important to leverage their market influence and yours within their stores. So we'll dive into our promotion programs and the vendor opportunities for y'all. We're going to guide you through kind of our current partnerships, like Daniel talked about, with KeHE, Rainforest, and some of the other distributors that we work with. And so if you're looking to navigate this competitive landscape or maximize your brand's promotions, we've got some actionable advice to go through today. And lastly, I want to talk about our promotional opportunities with our podcast. It's Infra's own podcast, The Buyer's Desk, which is a unique way for you to amplify your brand story within the industry. Our podcast provides a platform that reaches a very diverse audience, unlike, and actually not too dissimilar from Startup CPG podcast, that's really focused on retailers, but not only just retailers, but owners, store staff, so people just stocking groceries, and especially the buyers and category managers. So that's definitely something we want to talk about today. But yeah, I think let's get into it. Nick, I'll hand it off to you to talk a little bit more about Infra and who we are.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So we are Infra, and Chris gave you the acronym, Independent Natural Food Retailers Association. We are a cooperative of independent, organic, and natural food and wellness retailers that are serving hundreds of communities across the United States, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. I believe now we are in all 50 states. So that's a big celebration for us. It's been years. We had that one that was on the list and we finally got it. I believe that was New Mexico of all states. Go figure. Infra helps retailers become the best version of themselves. That's ultimately what we do. We're not so much dictative as we are inspirational. Through our collective buying power, operational support, and innovative marketing programs, we help our members' businesses thrive in step with their values and their communities in the ever-changing industry, as well as the planet that we share. Next slide, please. So this is our vision, and this is a new vision. We just came up with this, I think it's been less than 2 years. I'm not going to read it for you. I know y'all can read. I'm going to let you read it. But I want to enforce that we envision making this a reality through purposeful growth. By 2028, we are striving towards the goal of being in over 1,000 communities across the country, recognized as a leader in the natural foods industry, and act as a model for independent business success with stores that are consistently outperforming the natural channel. We're going to look at some data here shortly, but we are very much towards that goal. We are going to achieve this by facilitating meaningful peer collaboration and relationships. There's a saying that we have here at Infra that the retailers come for the deals and they stay for the community. And that is very true. We have a very strong community of independent retailers that learn from one another and support one another through change. We're also going to do this by leveraging our collective voice to improve and expand access to products, promotional offerings, and other services. Next slide, please. This is our mission, and this mission has been here for quite a while, strengthening our members through collaboration to forge a sustainable future. Something to note about Infra, we are a cooperative, so our members actually own a piece of Infra. Every member is an owner, and they have a voice in how our association is governed and how it runs, as well as getting a share in distribution of all of our profits. So, we are a for-profit business. We're out to make money, but the money we make, we reinvest into the cooperative, and then everything left, we give back to the members. Next slide, please. Here's a peek at our members. And I just visited with Yogesh. This is Yogesh and his wife, Kamal. They're down in Georgia, Nature's Pick, wonderful store. At the end of 2023, we had 348 members totaling 571 locations. Right now, we're definitely trending upwards of over 600 locations. I believe we're at 611 with around 365 members. So we're continuing to add to this list. And we've been growing with intention, prioritizing partners who align with our values and rounding out the areas that support business development to ensure that where we are adding members, we're able to support them through the relationships with KeHE and other distributors. At the end of 2023, we represented $2.7 billion in representative annual sales, and that was a 19% year-over-year growth rate. I am sure that by the end of this year, we will peak above the 3 billion mark, which is just unbelievable. A little bit of data for the data nerds out there. The INFRA dollar growth was up over 5% for all of the time periods of 2023. Unit sales were relatively flat or above also for all the time periods. So you can see good growth and good velocities with our stores. INFRA dollar and unit growth outpaced the natural channel across all time periods. Again, a testament to how our members operate. And then lastly, for the folks and fans of MULO, we were also outperforming them during all the time periods. So INFRA is winning in the natural channel. Our members are on the cutting edge of innovation and what's new, and are really driving traffic to their stores with that differentiation.
Also, Nick, just to put into context the 605 retail locations for everybody, I think I've heard estimates that the natural channel as a whole is only something like 3,000 stores, something like that. So 600 of that, I mean, this 20% that we're talking about are INFRA members. I just want everyone to understand like really how big that is if you're focused on natural channel. Like so lucky that you guys get to learn about them. And I also pasted the link to their retailer directory in the chat just now.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that, Daniel. And then just to close out the data, thinking a little bit of inflation, over 50% of our members outpaced inflation in 2023, which I think is something to celebrate. With SPINS data consistently showing members leading the natural, retail, independent grocer, and multi-unit channel in sales and units sold. Next slide, please. So, yes. So what connects indie retailers? We are all about connection. Like I said, the saying goes, they come for the deals and they stay for the community. As a part of INFRA, our members succeed together in ways they can't do alone. Currently, we work with not only natural food stores, but vitamin and supplement shops, crossover stores, specialty and gourmet stores, and other unique store formats, almost like natural convenience stores. So we have a very diverse group of retailers. No one INFRA store is the same as the next. They all have their own unique way of going about their business and how they engage with their customers. And we're going to go to the next slide here to see some of the representation of our membership. So this is just a few of the banners under INFRA, and I think y'all will recognize a lot of these folks. And I believe, yes, we did get Earth Fair on there. That's lovely. Next slide, please. So how we serve our members. We serve our members really in three primary formats, focusing on purchasing power, operational and marketing excellence, and community and peer support. INFRA leverages the collective voice and really our collective buying power now at 3 billion to help reduce cost of goods across the board, whether that's cost of goods with distribution and the products they sell, or forming partnerships with service providers to ensure that members have the best services at the best price. And we have teams working day in and day out to ensure that we are getting our members the best deal possible. In terms of operational excellence, I think you can agree that every entrepreneur wants their business to run like a well-oiled machine, and that's what we're here for. So we provide not only training and education, but consultation on how businesses can improve their bottom line and improve their efficiencies in operation. And then lastly, that peer and community support. Nothing is more powerful or inspiring than the infra community. When a retailer joins, they will be able to tap into the knowledge and support of hundreds of peers. And, you know, like I said, that's why they stay. They come for the deals and they stay for the community. With that, I'd like to pass it off to the one and only Andy, who's going to talk a little bit about our purchasing team and how we partner with brands to grow your infra business.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate the background. And thanks, Daniel, for jumping in with some context there. I appreciate that. In my introduction, I was playing around with the condiment nature of my job, but to give you a little more background, I've been in natural foods about 38 years, started out at the original Alfalfa's in Boulder. Some of you may remember that old store. Then I worked at Jimbo's for about 20 years. That's where a lot of my experience came from in San Diego. And I also had 3 years with KeHE. Learned a lot in my 3 years with KeHE, and I had a year and a half in conventional market in the Bay Area, and I learned more in that 1 year and a half in conventional than I did in 30 in natural about things like discounts and operations and stuff. So I run the purchasing team, the category manager team, rather, that is, along with Kate Fletcher. And Kate Fletcher is our senior category manager. She's not on the call with us today because she's in Germany, enjoying a well-deserved vacation. But Kate is my right-hand person, works closely with me. Austin and Becca are our associate category managers. They are working towards becoming category managers and do a lot of our administrative work. So if you do work with us and send us documents, they will likely be received by Becca and or Austin, and they will respond to your emails. So those are the folks that are keeping things moving on the category management side. The rest of the category management team, we call ourselves a purchasing team. We don't actually purchase things. We do promotions for our stores along with other programs. But we have a category management structure just like a store would have. And the category managers handle their areas, those brands on their desks, and they work promotions with those brands and help build those brands in the marketplace. So Lauren, who's with us today, handles our wellness. And as you know, she's got a ton of experience in the co-op world. Robin Davis also has a lot of experience in the co-op world. She handles our frozen products and some of our dairy products right now. Chris Madden has some broker experience, also has some co-op experience. Chris Madden handles center store, so he's going to handle pasta sauce, soup, that kind of stuff. Jared Peterson, again, another co-op background. He was with Seward for a long time. Jared handles our fresh, and we're getting more and more into fresh. So if there's any brands on the call here now that do gourmet cheeses, charcuterie, those kinds of things, that's the kind of stuff we want to work with more and more. And that's where Jared is focusing his attention along with perishable products. Then we have Kim Rout, who I don't think ever made it to the call. Could be mistaken.
She's on. She's here, Andy.
Kim is on. All right. Kim handles center store snacks. And so she has the best samples, without a doubt. Kim is the one who loads us up with chocolate and candy and snacks and all of that fun stuff.
Kim, you got a good intro from Chris, just so you know.
All right. Colleen Velko is a Michigander. We have 2 Michiganders on the team, Colleen and Courtney Worden. They both live in Traverse City, Michigan, and they handle our back-end processes. So those are folks who don't do a lot of vendor interaction, but who do a lot of interaction with our data providers, spins, and those people that are developing our platforms. Chris Sorensen is on the call right now. He's our promotions program manager. Hello, Chris. He runs a lot of our major programs. And he helps create systems that really work for the team. Chris has brought an incredible amount of efficiency to our team, and we can't thank him enough for that. And he works very closely with Caleb Mingus, who is kind of his right-hand person right now, building out systems for the team. And then lastly, Sheena works with our Michiganders from here in St. Paul. She's also handling back-end stuff. So that's the team. It's about 12 people. And we produce our monthly flyer along with a lot of other fun stuff that I'm going to go through right now. But those are the folks that you would be interacting with should you work with us. And we do like to think that we're pretty easy to work with, even though Infra at times is not easy to work with because we're a group of independents, which makes us just a wonderful account. I think Kahee had said in a recent meeting, we're a very important account to Kahee, of course, but they were upfront saying that without a doubt, we are the most complicated account they deal with, which makes sense. We have 605 units, all of which have different ways of operating. So we are a fun, challenging account, and that's how we like to approach things. So our purchasing programs fall into three main buckets, and their purpose is to leverage the collective voice of membership to deliver exceptional pricing, discounts, and promotions to all of our retailers. And the first piece of this is the National Supply Agreement. So the National Supply Agreement is a program that provides everyday pricing, which means not promotional pricing, but everyday pricing for our members through Kahee. Kahee is our primary partner, and our supply agreement runs through Kahee. So I think about 90% of our members, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, are on the supply agreement at this point. Is that about right, Nick?
I think that's pretty close. I think it's closer to 80, 84, 85%.
Okay, cool.
But very high.
Let's just 85, 90% of our members at this point are on the supply agreement, and that's up quite a ways from where it was several years ago. And that supply agreement provides competitive cost plus pricing for our members that help them compete. So a small store in the middle of Idaho, of course, would be paying book wholesale from Kahee if they weren't an INFRA member. So by being an INFRA member, they have access to cost plus pricing that helps them compete. And that's a very important underlying foundation for INFRA is the National Supply Agreement, because this is what makes our members competitive on a day-to-day basis. It is a very important part of what we do.
Chris, just a question on that. So if they're an INFRA member, they're going to get cost plus pricing. And, you know, if I'm a brand selling into Kahee, they're going to be charging different amounts at each of their DCs. I know that. But then they're going to be, if you're an INFRA member, that you can get a cost plus. Is that a standard cost plus for all of them? Or is it still going to vary based on?
It's a tiered, yeah, it's a tiered, sorry to interrupt, it's a tiered pricing system based on member volume. So it's everyone does not have the same price at INFRA, but everybody is on the same pricing model, if that makes sense. And you fall into different tiers based on your volume.
For sure. Is there like a min or max? Because as a brand, what a lot of us do is we try to understand, like, oh, do we need to offer them some special deals to hit a certain price? I know some, I mean, without any kind of a max, sometimes through Kahee, it could be like 35%, you know, markup, something like that. And do you have like a range you see as common?
Of the cost plus pricing that our members get? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Nick, I would ask if you're comfortable sharing that information.
Sorry, I was responding to a question in the chat. Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. Are we willing to give out the cost plus pricing our members get, like the low and the high, meaning Premier versus Tier 5?
Yeah, we can't share the actual cost plus, but what we can say is we negotiate a deal that allows our members to be as competitive as possible. And what I can say is when folks see pricing, they're like, wow, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. That's as much as I can share.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I tried.
No, not at all. Please. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. The bottom line is that it makes our members competitive. It helps them be competitive in ways that they couldn't be on their own. And that, of course, is a big driving force for folks to join INFRA, is for access to that pricing. And as Nick said, they come for the pricing often, and they stay for the community and the other suite of services that we provide. So the National Supply Agreement is a very important foundation for everything we do. And our promotions programs are a hybrid program. So we have a high-low program, just like any good retailer would have, and that's our INFRA deals. And these are promotions that feature deep discounts for limited time on popular items. It uses targeted, time-limiting promotions to drive traffic, increase basket size, and create excitement around key products. And we're going to an A/B promotional cycle effective in January. So for all of our existence, we have had a monthly flyer. Starting in January, for the first time, we are moving to an A/B flyer, which is to say 2-week promotions instead of 4-week promotions. So that increases opportunities for brands to promote with us and allows our members to rotate their end caps, rotate their promotions, and hopefully generate greater lift. Because I think most of us who understand promotions on the call know that over 2 weeks the items will sell, and then after 2 weeks they start to fall. So that last 2 weeks of a promotion period tends to be very ineffective. But the infra deals are very attractive to our members. The small and medium members tend to use our flyer. We have a hard copy flyer, which I'll show you in a minute, that goes along with the program. The larger members have their own programs, and they work the deals into their own flyers. But all the members in one way or another engage with infra deals. And it has been a tremendously successful program. And that's the high-low piece of what we do. The everyday low price piece of what we do is called the everyday program. That's an everyday low price program designed to make you the go-to retailer, which is the infra member, for organic products in their community. So we partner with KeHE on Cadia, which is their control label. We have exclusive, excellent pricing on Cadia for infra members. The everyday program requires members to carry a certain number of items. It's about 120 at this point, and requires them to run consistent pricing, which is unusual for infra. So one thing to know is that at infra, each member has their own pricing structures. We make recommendations on promotional pricing, but members aren't held to SRPs. We're not a chain, so that's important to note. Everyday, however, is an EDLP program, and as such requires members to engage with it in a more structured way. And they must run the SRPs on the program, and they must carry all the items on the program. And we have found this to be amazingly successful so far. And it was a huge lift for our members to commit to doing something that gave up part of their independence. And that's something that's really important to remember about infra, who we are. We are, in a way, kind of an oxymoron. We are a group of independents, right? Independents don't want to be part of a group. That's why they're independents. But they're coming together to be part of a group for the benefits that come with that, the discounts, the pricing, the collective voice, the leverage. So that's why they're doing this. But we always walk a fine line about making our members do things that make them lose independence, because that's not what they want to do, right? But the only way for us to execute a truly effective EDLP program was for members to have to give a little skin in the game, to have to commit to SRPs, to commit to selection. And they did so willingly, and the results are remarkable. And that speaks to the power of infra. If we can get all 608 stores to work together, we can do amazing things. And that's the beauty of infra right there. So those are our programs. The supply agreement is your foundation. Then you have a hybrid program of a high-low program and an everyday program. That's the basis of what we do. So there's our flyer, newly redesigned and gorgeous. That's our Infra Deals flyer. And in order to be in the flyer, or to be in our promotions programs, and this is what all the folks on the call here want to hear about, number one, you have to meet product standards. Those are on our website. They are not super stringent, but they are natural. All right. So our stores have individually very, very strict standards. I worked for Jimbo's, and at Jimbo's, I couldn't have anything with white sugar. I couldn't have anything that wasn't verified if it had GMOs. And so there were very strict standards at Jimbo's about what I could put on the shelf. Many of our stores have similar standards, but not all of them. So our promotions program can't capture all of the real detailed standards. So it tends to have natural standards, but we're not going to force you to have perfect ingredients. That's what's important to note. But you cannot have preservatives. You cannot have food colorings. It cannot have GMOs if it isn't properly documented. So it does have to be a natural product in order to work with us. And I think most of the folks on the call probably fit that bill. But that is important to note. We would not be putting Coke, Pepsi into our program. It does have to be natural. It has to be available in KeHE for the most part. So almost everything we work with goes through KeHE in grocery. So if you really want to work with infra and infra stores, you do need to be in KeHE. I will say that pretty much flat out. There are a few little exceptions. One, not so little, is wellness. So with wellness brands, of course, we do work with direct vendors. Lauren will talk a little bit more about that in a second. But of course, we work with lots of direct vendors on the wellness side. We don't have any, maybe one, direct grocery vendor. But we do work with grocery in the Northeast through Rainforest, which is a regional distributor. So you folks may know who Rainforest is. It's a great Northeast distributor. Starting in 2025, we are going to start doing promotions on items that are only available in Rainforest. So there are opportunities in the Northeast for regional brands that aren't in KeHE. And we are trying to build out more opportunities nationally over the next couple of years for that. But if you really want to work with us, you really want to work with our stores nationally, it is going to have to be KeHE. And that is very important for you to note. We have an ACV threshold. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but there is a requirement to work with us for a certain level of ACV, which means that you're in enough infra stores. And I'll get into enough more detail on that in a second. But essentially, to work with us, you have to be in our stores to be in our promotions program, in enough stores, that is. We do have a new item program, and I'll talk about that in a moment as well. So the item has to be in KeHE, but the discount does go through other distributors. So if you do a deal with us through KeHE, it is also going to flow through UNFI, through Threshold, if it's in Threshold, and through any regional partner like Rainforest. So our members use KeHE and UNFI. Almost all of them have a backup account with UNFI. There's some that are still UNFI primaries. So we take all of our deals and pass them through UNFI. And that helps generate extra sales. Not just for those members that are UNFI primaries, but if KeHE is out of stock, then they'll buy it from UNFI and still get the discount. Right?
Chris, one question that came in is, do you help us get into KeHE?
We can't really help you get into KeHE. We can work with KeHE. We have a process called Seed Vendor, where we can recommend that KeHE look at a brand, right? So if there's a brand, say Lauren is very excited about a brand that's on the call today and they're not in KeHE, Lauren feels like they'd be a great fit for KeHE. She can put that on this process that we have, and KeHE will evaluate that and see if it's something they're interested in. But we are not an anchor account in each DC, which is to say, we don't have the ability to make KeHE bring anything in. So in that sense, we're not a chain, right? So if we were Publix with our 610 stores, KeHE would bring in whatever we told them to bring in. But because we are 610 independents, it doesn't work that way. So really the brands, and this is really important for the folks on the call to understand, we're not a chain. So to work with our stores, you have to get into our stores first, get into enough of them that we can then get you into our promotional programs. And then things tend to snowball. Once you start getting into 20, 30% of infra stores, you start getting into our promotional programs, then it snowballs and ACV tends to pick up that way, kind of organically. But yes, infra, as I said at the outset, is tricky to work with because we're not a chain. Because as anybody on the call can imagine, if you're an independent retailer, you would never join infra if infra was going to make you carry things. That's not how it would work, right? So I'm sure for folks that understand that, you're all independent brands. We're all independent retailers. And so we try to be as cohesive as possible, but allow independence for our members. And part of that is what they carry is up to them almost entirely. So it has to be sold into the stores first. Once it's there, we can work with it. And that's generally how that plays out. Lastly, direct discounts for direct vendor partners are offered direct only, as Lauren would say. And I will turn it over to you, Lauren, to talk about your wellness flyer now.
Yeah, wonderful. So like Andy has shared, we have, and I think Nick shared as well, we have a pretty diverse membership. And we do have about 70 or 80 of our stores that do more than 70% of their sales in wellness specifically. And so they're probably not going to have a very large grocery selection. And we wanted to build a tool for them to use our flyer, even if they didn't have the grocery items. So right now we have this wellness deal flyer. It's in a digital format. And so some stores print it, some stores will post it up. But that's an option for all of our members that can't use the regular grocery flyer. So the items that are in the wellness deal flyer are also in our regular flyer, but it's just the supplements and body care items. And, we think that was really important because price perception is a big deal right now. A lot of people are looking online when they're buying supplements, and it's really important for our members to have access to competitive deals in those categories specifically. There are a couple other ways that wellness programs diverge just a little bit from the way that grocery works. Andy touched on a couple of them. The big one is that we do work with direct brands in wellness. We have, I think, probably upwards of 300 directs that we work with. And they do tend to all be body care, supplements, and a little bit of general merchandise. So we are set up to work with direct brands. If you have a direct brand and you also sell through distribution, you have to pick one or the other. We can't promote both ways with the same item. But as Andy mentioned, if your product is in KeHE and it's in Threshold and it's in UNFI, we do run promos through all of those. We also have a lot of brands that work primarily with Threshold. And Threshold Enterprises is a distributor with 2 warehouses. So that's different than KeHE that has however many. We use, I think, 8 or 9 of KeHE's right now. And when Threshold picks up an item or a brand, they pick it up in both DCs. So that makes it a little bit easier. You're really only dealing with like one price point and one distributor location. And so when we price our promotions through Threshold, it's a little bit easier. We're not doing it regionally. But that's a really good distributor for a wellness brand specifically to look at, because that is Threshold's focus. They primarily work with supplements, body care, some teas, some bars, but that's really their focus. The other way that wellness differs from grocery is that we have a slightly different ACV threshold for promoting with us. It's a little bit lower. And so we look for like a 50 to 55% ACV for ads and a 20 to 25% for TPRs. And as Andy mentioned, ACV is all commodities volume, and it's like a weighted measure of volume and distribution across our membership. The reason we do that, we look for ACV, is because we want there to be ROI for the brands. We want you to be in enough stores that you see a lift from our promotions. And we also want the promotions to be relevant to enough of our member stores. I think that's all I got on wellness.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. That's a great segue into a slide in a moment about ACV. I'll get a little more detail about that. Thank you very much. Wellness is, as Lauren mentioned, is a big part of our business. We have, as she said, 70, 80 stores that are, largely wellness stores. So that is something we do a lot of business in. I mentioned earlier how to get items into our stores. Daniel, you had asked about whether or not we can place items in stores. We cannot do that. We strongly recommend that if you don't have a broker, if you're able to hire a broker, you work with someone who can help you sell into stores or have your own sales team, because you will need that. We do have a program called the Fill Offer program that I really want to talk about. It does require, except for wellness brands that are direct, it does require brands to be in KeHE. But if we are in KeHE, and let's say you're in 4 or 5 KeHE warehouses that we work with, but you're not in many infra stores, then you can apply for what's called the Fill Offer program. And this is a program that goes out once a month to all of our members. Products must align with our standards like everything else. It has to be in enough KeHE warehouses, primarily our main warehouses, which tend to be Maryland, DC 27, Chino, DC 41, Bloomington, DC 16. Those are the big 3 warehouses that we work with, the Midwest, the West, and the East. Those 3 are key warehouses. But if you're in those 3 and a couple of others, you can get into our Fill Offer program, which goes out to all members, which allow members to bring in placement orders to get the items on the shelf for a guaranteed period of 6 months. It includes a promotion. And we tend to get now these days almost 90 or 100 stores participating for each brand on good brands, and then a minimum of about 40, 50 stores. And it's only a $1,000 fee. We don't get into fees here a lot, but for $1,000, we can get you into 50 to 100 infra stores. That is worth every penny. The key is being in KeHE. Like a lot of things we do, you do have to be in KeHE to participate in that program, unless you're a direct vendor.
Hey, Chris, I just want to summarize for everybody. So as opposed to some retailer like Publix, you submit to Publix, they decide if you go in the stores, they can accept you into some or all of the stores, you're on the shelf.
Yeah.
Whereas Infra, which is a group of all of the independent retailers, it's not like you submit to Infra centrally and they say yes, and then you're in all or some of the stores. So it's first to grow in distribution with the infra stores. First, you would need to be in some of the infra stores. And so you could use that link that I sent out to check out all the stores that you're in. You might already be in some or a bunch of them. If you have a broker who does look at indie stores, they're probably already trying to get you in a bunch of these stores, because these are some of the epic ones, like Down to Earth and Hawaii. And, these are ones that do good volume, then like Ann's in Texas. And then so where we get on your radar is when we can start talking to you and say, look, I'm already in a bunch of your stores and I would like to do one of these programs then to get into a lot more of the stores. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah, that's not far from true. You don't have to be in many stores. I would say if you're in KeHE and you're in no infra stores, you could still do our Fill Offer program. So in that case, the key is being in that distributor, right? But it's all chicken and egg stuff. It's hard to get into the distributor until you're in stores. So I understand the chicken and the egg piece there.
Right.
The other thing I would say, Daniel, and you kind of alluded to this, which is if you want to drive volume with infra and really play with infra, focus in on our largest stores, right? So try to get placement in your down to earth, in Lassen's, in Jimbo's, in Kimberton. You mentioned Ann's, Better Health, Fruitful Yield, Earth Fare. Now you get into those stores, then you get multiple locations all at once, and you start driving ACV numbers really quickly, right? It takes a lot of small stores to add up to an ACV that can work with us. But really, there's two ways to work with us. Have the ACV, and I'll get to that. This next slide is going to talk more detail about that. Have the ACV to start promoting with us, or be and KHE so that you can get into our new item program to build your ACV. Those are the two routes.
And someone else asked, like, hey, if I'm in one KHE DC, like, would that help me get into some of these other ones? That is more of a KHE question, but they have programs also.
They do.
And, you know, I think it should be part of your overall natural channel strategy, but you can try to do like the New at KHE program where you're taking a bet on yourself. Like, all right, like account manager at KHE, load me into that program. I'm going to pay the fees for it. And now it's on me to go and use the offer that I have through them to get in to a bunch of these stores and then build towards the ACV that I need to grow with you guys.
Correct. That's one route, the New at KHE program. We had also mentioned there's a program called the Seed Vendor Program. This is a program that KHE does primarily just for infra stores. And if you're in the enterprise, and what that means is in one KHE DC. So if KHE approves you, which means in the enterprise, and you may not even be in stock anywhere, but you're approved in enterprise, that's a big deal. Because once you're approved in enterprise, then I can go to KHE and say, can we work this brand into a seed vendor program? Then it becomes maybe something we can help you with. Right? But being in enterprise is the key. And that's a big lift sometimes getting into that enterprise, but you really need one DC, which is what Daniel's saying, one account that can open one DC for you. And then from there, it can grow. And
this is what they call like getting your KHE codes. Like, oh, do you have a code?
Yeah, exactly. Getting the codes.
Like, oh, you have a code. Great. Like all I need is that code.
Codes are gold. Absolute gold, and they're hard to get. But once you get there, my friends, we're there for you. And the last thing I want to cover in my presentation is more detail on the ACV side, which is when can you promote with us, get into our flyer, get into our TPR program. And the answer is when you have the ACV is one data measure we look at. Lauren mentioned what that is. That's store count plus volume. We also look at store count. So another data point we look at is just a raw, how many stores are you in regionally or nationally to get a percentage of that. And the way to think of this, folks, is we're putting a promotional program together, for 600 stores, all of whom have different selections, right? And we're not a chain, so we're not going to make everybody have the same selection. But whatever we're going to put in our promotional program obviously has to be in enough stores for it to be relevant. Otherwise, it's useless to the members. You wouldn't get any sales out of it. So that's why we have to see, does this item have enough ACV, enough store placement to warrant inclusion in our programs? And for a national ad, and that means in the flyer in all 5 regions, that's a 70% ACV, which is roughly 6 or 7 out of every 10 infra stores that you would be in. That's a high ACV for us, is between 60 and 70%. That also includes regional ads. So we can do regional ads, and if you're at 60 or 70% ACV in just one of the regions, Southwest, Northwest, Central, Southeast, Northeast, we could do a regional ad with you in that region, which then run as TPRs or shelf sales in the other regions. So that's a reduced cost promotion that is just for one region instead of nationally. Lauren had mentioned we have lower targets for wellness. Wellness is a 50 instead of a 70 target. And they have a 25 target for a TPR, which is a shelf sale. So the other level of this is if you're not ready for promoting in our flyer yet, you can promote as a TPR, temporary price reduction shelf sale, at an ACV of 35% in grocery, 25% in vitamins, wellness. So much lower requirements for that. Probably not as good of lift, but that still gets the stores to participate in the program. And a lot of brands start with us with TPRs and build towards regionals, then towards nationals. That's kind of what we like to do with our brands, is build them. And there are success stories we have that start with fill offers, go to regional ads, go to TPRs, go to regional ads, go to national ads. That's a true success story, and that happens. Siete just sold for $1 billion. They did a fill offer with us 7 years ago or something. So that happens. right? And I hope that happens to everybody on this call. But to work with us, of course, you got to be in enough stores, has to be natural, has to have a discount through our distributor. And then as an added note, when you do promotions with us, we do require additional discount on top of that distributor. So if you have an OI with a distributor, we would ask for an extra 5%. That's how our programs work once you're promoting with us. And there's a lot more detail behind this on our website, but the key to this is understanding why it's important you be in INFRA stores in order to promote with us, and the fact that we're not a chain, so we have to determine that based on data, right? That's what makes us different and wonderful, because I think we all know that the brands that really succeed grow starting at the independent level. That's how you grow holistically. So we help brands grow. That's what I like to think of us as. Good stuff. Lots more to come. I'm sure you have lots of questions. I do want to send this over to, I think this is Kim. Are you handling the new vendor inquiry?
I am. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
So I'm sure everybody's ready to get started here. So what you need to do is begin by filling out our new vendor inquiry form. It's quick and easy, just takes a few minutes to complete. You can scan the QR code. I also saw someone put it in the chat. And then once that's submitted, a category manager will review your details, including the KHE availability, ACV, and sales information, and they will follow up with you. Next slide.
All right, so Kim and I are, yeah, Kim, we're going to tag team this one. So I am one of the hosts of the Buyer's Desk, and Kim is our executive producer, and she's the one that really makes this happen. I had kind of a crazy idea when I came to INFRA as a category manager after being, on the sales floor working at a retailer for 10 years. And I was like, man, if we could just tell the story of these amazing brands that us as category managers meet with every day, and get this out to our retailers as another opportunity that you don't have the ACV, or if you're already working with us and you have this amazing story to tell, we wanted to find a way to have other opportunities to kind of get in front of our members, but then also just to really lift up the industry. So we started this podcast in 2023. It first kind of launched out just private to our members. And then we started realizing the opportunity and launched this, I think it was in April of 2023, out to the industry, and pretty much listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's hosted by both myself and my co-host, Angela Bozo, who is our director of member programs, who she's worked in the industry for many, many years as well, out on the West Coast for New Seasons Market, and has had a lot of different positions within merchandising and product development as well. So yeah, I definitely recommend give it a listen. Kim, if you want to take it from here, and we'll talk about some of our favorite episodes.
Yeah, so we got some exciting stuff planned for 2025. We're kind of revamping a little bit after 2 years. We're moving from monthly episodes to weekly segments with shorter, more digestible content. We're also doing new sponsorship opportunities for partners, and then we'll be doing some special shout outs to some of our major vendors and partners as well. So super excited for 2025. Got some really good plans there, so looking forward to it. And as Chris mentioned, favorite episodes. I mean, it's really hard to select just a few. I mean, a lot of them are my favorite episodes, but I have to say a few that really resonated with me was the February 2024 episode on Black farmers. It just really stood out to me, and I learned a lot from that episode. Another favorite was just our past August episode. It was about marketing. It was incredibly insightful. I even took notes. So that one I highly recommend. And then I also love listening to John Wood, one of our members, talk about his journey into natural foods and how he markets his store. And it was very inspiring and really nice to hear his backstory. Chris, what's some of your favorite episodes?
Well, the one that just aired, I think, has actually been one of my favorite. I got to interview Miguel Leal, the co-owner and CEO of Somos Foods. And did you all know that there's a region in Mexico coined the Napa Valley of Peppers? I did not. but I learned that from this conversation with him. So like Kim said, it's like we start having these conversations with both our members and the brands and industry partners and get to learn so much. It's super cool. I've also had the opportunity to interview, Jordan Rubin of Ancient Nutrition, formerly Garden of Life, right? Justin Gill from Bachans, which is another brand that we did a fill offer for, did some TPRs for, and they're just growing like crazy. So it's great to see brands like that grow. And I got to sit down with Bryce and Brita Lundberg, father-daughter duo at Lundberg Family Farms. And so those are just some of the few that were really great. So I'm sure there's some of you here that would love to be on the podcast and you have a great story that you want to tell out to our membership, because it's cool. There's not only the members that listen, there's fellow brands that listen, industry folks listen, and I know a lot of the folks at KeHE listen as well, because we have them on the podcast from time to time. So have a very diverse audience for this podcast. And then I just got to pitch out our INFRA's annual conference for 2025. The dates are July 21st through the 24th at the River Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so you got to get ready for the largest independent natural food retail event of the year, you guys. I know there's always that West Coast stuff and all the things that Natural, New Hope Network are doing. You got to go to those. Those are great. But if you want to get in front of the independents, this is the show to be at. And you might even score one of those fancy Bricks awards that we give out. Those are a lot of fun. Why to attend? Kind of the top 3 things. Direct connections. If you really want to build those long-lasting relationships with independent retailers, this is the place to do it. We have exclusive sponsorships just for the conference. And if you want to be one of those inspiring the future of the natural foods industry, this is the ground floor for those conversations and that to happen. So save the date and save a spot in your budget for the INFRA annual conference.
I see our friend Jaden from Earth Fair there illustrated at the conference. So
yeah, he was an awesome one.
So if you're a brand thinking about this, like you would go because a lot of the stores are going to be there, like the buyers from all the stores. So if you're really trying to build up distribution for like ACV, that could be a good place to try to get in front of a bunch of them at one time. And maybe some of those stores aren't even the same kind of people who all are going to be at Expo. Maybe some of them will be, but like your indies probably go to your show.
Correct. Yep. It's a great way to build PODs is come to that show for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's some questions just about the conference right in the chat right now. I think Nick and Andy, we don't have any particular ACV requirements for the show at this point, do we? I think we backed that off because the next question, is it a buying show or discovery show? And I think it's a little bit of both, right? But I think the thing I wanted to hit home is what I've heard over the last 2 conferences specifically that we've been at the River Center is a lot of the brands are saying they actually get the FaceTime with the members. They get to build the relationships, have the conversation, talk about what's going on in the member stores, because we have built the show to a large enough size that we have enough members there and enough brands there to be able to really have that intimate, time with each other. But yeah, a lot of buying happens too. So it's also a really, really good way to put in some big deals. We market it as the best deals of the year for our members. So yes, it very much is a big buying show as well, but you got to come with the discounts if you want to, see the volume.
And there was a question in the chat about more information for the show. I would advise everybody on the call today to take those 2 minutes to submit that new vendor inquiry. It literally takes 2 minutes. That gets you on the category manager's radar. You start having the conversation. We enter you into our database so that you can ensure that you're getting some of these notifications on opportunities. We will be sending kind of a teaser for the 2025 show in mid-November, I believe. It's mid-November. So you'll want to get in touch with us as soon as possible so you can get on that mailing and stay informed of when those opportunities come up. We will also have that posted on our public site. So if you're just checking our site every day, you'll get notification there as well.
I found it on the site and I posted it here, but it just has the dates really. So it says July 21st to July 24th in St. Paul, Minnesota. Cool.
Are you going to join us, Daniel?
Of course. I'm not doing anything then. I don't have anything to sell, but I'll just come and hang. So okay, and then so getting to the questions and answers, I know we've gotten to a lot of the questions coming up. Oh, one person had a question about costs for the show, like typical range. I don't know if you can share, like, if there's a cost to attend or cost to exhibit, like just a range or something.
There is a cost, I would say anywhere between $2,500 and $4,000. Like I said, we'll have all of those details ironed out and starting to share in mid-November. And we'll actually start the call for applications to attend in late December.
And is it like, so that probably is for a booth, I'm guessing?
Correct. Yep.
And then is it like Expo where you can just get a ticket and go and walk around?
No, we
okay.
only, so it is, the show is for our members. And so brands are only exhibitors at that show.
Cool. Okay. So a couple questions were around kind of the no-no list and ingredients. Do you guys have that on your website somewhere where we could post the link? Maybe if you could just post that in the chat here so everybody could look at it that way.
Yeah, we do have product standards, and I'll pull them up so that folks can get that link and look at them.
Perfect. Thank you. And then another, I guess, just one question that I'm sure everybody's wondering about you guys is, so you're very kind to come on here and also post the form where everyone can submit. Also, is there a good way for people to follow along with you guys? Do you like when maybe each of you could answer, like, do you like for people to follow you on LinkedIn, or do you want to just blindly give out your email? Just so, always have to ask. So maybe each of you could just specify if you like that, or if you really just prefer to like get the submissions through the new item forms.
I'll say for me, start with listening to the podcast, but yes, follow on LinkedIn, and follow INFRA on LinkedIn as well, because we do post a lot about events that we're going to and things that are happening. So that's a good way. But yeah, I'm not the one making decisions on the promotion, so I don't think my email will get you very far.
Yeah.
My advice, Daniel, for the CMs, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, we're probably going to say the same thing, Andy. I encourage everybody to submit that new vendor inquiry. That is the first step. So that gets you on the category manager's radar, and that really starts the process. The cold calls, the emails, those are great, but they oftentimes get lost in the shuffle because our category managers are dealing literally with hundreds of brands every day. So submit that new vendor inquiry. 2 minutes. It'll be the best 2 minutes spent today.
Totally agree. And the CM will get back to you personally on that. Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I was just going to say, there are CMs that aren't here, obviously, on the call today. So if you fill out that form, then we can sort it and make sure it gets to the right person too.
Yep.
All right, perfect. I think that's actually mainly the question. So if we didn't get to one of your questions, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can follow up through one of the forums with the team. And I just want to say thank you again. It really means a lot that we get the all-star team from such an important grouping of retailers out there. Again, just the fact that you guys cover really, I think, about 20% of the whole natural channel, that is what a lot of us start our brands focused on to really make our name in that channel. So thank you. I know it is complex also. So thank you for coming to answer all of these questions. Yeah. And I mean, just, the experience that I've had with you guys at all the shows has always just been super positive, and pitching you guys as well. So I really appreciate you being open. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, and thank you to all the brands for coming with these great questions. And if you missed anything, you can check this out on our YouTube. In about a week, we'll load up the recording.
Great. If I can just say, Daniel, the work that you and your team is doing out there with Startup CPG is outstanding. And we really I love seeing what you're doing. I think it's such a great thing for these brands that need a helping hand, and we're just thrilled to be part of it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I'm having a good time doing it. And thanks again to Chris for helping get us all together.
Yeah. And I have to just echo what Andy said, Daniel, as well. And you guys, not only are you doing hard work, but you're having fun doing it and being creative and coming up with new fun ideas. So I got to applaud that. That's amazing.
That's how we like to roll here too. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. All right, Chris, I'm excited to hear Buyer's Desk episodes soon with all these brands on there. So, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks.